Coming in at number 94, we have Houston Texans left tackle Laremy Tunsil, who, as we get into the film here in a couple seconds, I think everybody will agree with me, he's an interesting guy to rank, right? Because on one hand, he does something incredibly well. I would argue in the top 3, top 5 of the entire league. But another thing, I think he leaves a lot of room to be desired. And, instead of talking in ambiguities, how about we just hop into the film and get right to it? The first thing that sets Tunsil apart is his length, right? And whenever people see that 6-letter word, they automatically are going to get fixated on, well, Michael, how long are his arms? And I'm telling you guys, that doesn't really matter, right? What matters is his understanding of length, right? If you have 87.5-inch arms, but throw your punch when that guy's 2 inches from your body, you lose every single rep that you ever take, right? The thing with Tunsil is he has a great understanding of the timing required to, with his 34.25-inch arms, utilize every last quarter inch. And in that regard, does a phenomenal job at keeping defenders at bay and away from his chest. If, however, you're punching at thin air, doesn't really matter, right? You have to have good hand placement, and Tunsil most certainly does. Does a phenomenal job at diagnosing early what is the near point. What is that defender giving me? Is it going to be a speed rush and he's going to give me that inside shoulder as he tries to dip and get around the edge? Or is it going to be more of a bull, where, as you saw there, he gives me his chest? He does a great job at quickly diagnosing and then stabbing those long arms in there to win these reps before a lot of them even start, right? Just great in that regard. Also incredibly good in terms of his footwork. Very smooth in and out of his pass sets to where, if it's initially a kick slide and then he has to come back inside because that guy is trying to cross his face into the B gap, as you're going to see with Za'Darius there, he's able to power step down, pinch that off, win the rep. Just so smooth in and out of his sets to where, this play, he reads Clowney's breaking across his face, kicks down, cuts it off, even comes back out to help on the defensive tackle. Just masterful stuff that really makes him one of the best pass blockers in the league. As we rapid fire through some of these next couple slides, he's very good in terms of his ability to anchor, right? Does a great job at, even when he's beginning to lose a rep to a bull rusher, not this one, no idea what this Titans guy was doing. He just does a great job at reversing his fortune, sinking his lower body, re-engaging his hips, and almost sitting on these reps to win them and give Deshaun just enough time to throw it, right? Also incredible in terms of his IQ and reactionary quickness. Look at how quickly he recognizes once that guy in C-gap doesn't declare, how fast his head snaps down to the defensive tackle. You saw it there against Robert Quinn. Just incredible stuff to where it's almost second nature. He recognizes instantly, this is a twist, I got to do something. Watch him on Clowney. Once Clowney sort of takes a step back and appears to be crossing over to B-gap, head snaps down to the DT. Here again, Bud Dupree, boom, onto Stephon Tuitt. Just masterful stuff, second nature. My offensive line coach in college, he would always say when it felt like a twist was coming, you had to get your spidey senses tingling. Tunsil's are on 100% of the time. His athleticism is always on as well, right? As, when it comes to climbing to the second level, pulling around the edges, whether it's, playing in space here on that wide receiver screen, just does a very effective job at utilizing, his God-given gifts, right? He's incredibly fleet of foot. We saw it as a pass blocker. It's consistent here as a run blocker. I would say the problem with his game, though, as a run blocker is that he's not very physical, and that play against Derek Nottie is obviously an exception, right? He does a good job with his feet, and that's why I have short area quickness highlighted here. He does a very good job with his, initial burst, beating guys to the spot. But when it comes to necessarily fitting somebody up and just mauling them out of a play, he's not really the guy that you want in that role, right? He can position block guys to death, but at the same time, if you're just engaging with a guy and bumping chests with him, you're also not creating holes for your running back, right? Just because your guy's not making the tackle doesn't mean that he can't be making the play, right? And in that regard, I think Tunsil leaves a little bit to be desired, right? Again, I'd say elite as a pass blocker. That's really why he's number 94. And in that light, for him to continue to really make some big gains on this list, I think he would need to do either one of two things, right? And that's become near perfect as a pass blocker, which obviously is a steep hill to climb. Or I would say just continue to improve and get better and more physical as a run blocker, right? Which I would argue is a much more realistic and possible goal, as he already has the athletic tools to get there with his feet, right? But then just fit those defensive linemen up and drive drive your feet, right? Get your hips into it and let's go. You know, create some sort of vertical or horizontal movement to give your running backs a chance. And, you know, the Texans are definitely going to need that this upcoming season, whether or not Deshaun ends up playing, but it's just something that I think Tunsil needs to do if he wants to continue to take the steps in the right direction on this list, right? It's the reason I kept him off last year, is because I just felt he was a little bit too one-dimensional. I would say improved a little bit if he wants to keep jumping up and, you know, whether it's become a top 50 guy, top 75, whatever it is, he's just got to be more well-rounded, right? But with that being said, if you thought that this was a well-rounded video, if you enjoyed my coverage of what I think makes Laremy Tunsil good, make sure you leave a like, comment, and also subscribe so that we are always in the loop with my future uploads. But with that being said, I'm mic'd up, now I'm mic'ing out. Peace, guys.